welcome to Business Today TV. I'm Sakshi Batra and you're watching Cryptonomics, a show that covers all things crypto. And in this edition today, we're going to be discussing why CoinDCX has really published the full proof of reserve with statutory auditor's certificate as well. And with me on the show to have this discussion, joining in is Mr. Paras Malhotra. He's the Senior Vice President, Exchange Operations at CoinDCX. Welcome, Paras, and thank you so much for taking the time out for this discussion. So let's start by asking you the starting point. What was the need for CoinDCX to really release the proof of reserves with an audit?
Sure, Sakshi. So the recent events in global crypto scene, especially with FTX, Voyager, and the contagion that followed on from these events, has led to a lot of erosion of trust among users of this asset class. And we as CoinDCX and a centralized exchange owe it to our users as well as the ecosystem to make it much more transparent and trustworthy. So hence we decided to publish the proof of reserves and liabilities to instill trust among users so that they keep invested in this asset class and look forward to it.
All right. So help me understand it a little bit more. What are the contents of this proof of reserves and what do they really indicate?
Right. So proof of reserves and liabilities, are part of proof of solvency. So which means that, proof of reserves contains whereabouts of, all the VDAs and the quantums of all the VDAs across chains, exchanges, and token in real time. This means that users can get visibility and verifiability to where the custody is and, how it is being utilized or kept by, us as, their custodian.
And what is the reserve to liability ratio and what does that indicate?
So, if you see, generally like it's old school banking, reserves are the actual VDA quantum, that is with us, and liability is the total quantum that we owe to the users because they have purchased that quantum. And reserve to liability ratio, basically, if it is more than 1, then we have as many reserves, as we owe to the users. So even if you see our audit report, for example, you will see that we have nearly 157 million reserves in USDT and liabilities of nearly 155 million. So the reserves to liabilities more than 1. Hence from an old school banking perspective, we are positive for confirming our users' liabilities.
Okay, understood that. And how does this release of the proof of reserves really contribute now to building more confidence among the public?
So basically, as intended, this release of report has gathered a very good response from the users and the community. This also leads to a feedback loop because, investors are also good Samaritans, when it comes to keeping exchanges in check, in terms of how we are holding their custody, etc. So we will see a lot of, public participation, from this information that we have shared publicly. It will also lead to strengthening our own processes. It will also lead to strengthening, and rule making in terms of how exchanges in future should show and, keep the custody of the VDAs.
Right, noted that. Now, also help me, understand a little bit more on why did CoinDCX really decide not to have their own native token?
So, retrospectively, it has come out to be a pretty good decision. But, when we started with that narrative, not a lot of people were happy because, native tokens can accrue free value to a lot of people and users as well. But basically what it does is it leads to ballooning of reserves. For example, FTX did not keep as many reserves because they had the FTT token, which balanced the value of the reserves, which they didn't have. So essentially, native tokens don't start with any inherent value, but can be used as substitute to real value in proof of reserves as well. And our founders could foresee that, and to avoid this situation, we never minted our native token, which has turned out to be pretty well.
Okay, decision then well taken. But what was the role of Coin Gabbar in the release then? Could you help me point that out and give more insights on that?
Sure. So, our statutory auditor just didn't want to take our word for our reserves and liabilities. They wanted single place by a third party who would have collated our reserves, and then show it to them on a single screen, token by token. And it took a lot of time because reserves are kept at a lot of places to diversify and to reduce the
risks.
And hence, CoinGabbar, because of its know-how of the asset class, proved to be a great partner, which the auditor also relied upon to release this certificate of audit, where they could prove that liabilities are lesser than the reserves.
Okay. And what are the parameters that really determine the credibility of this release? For a lot of audiences, that would be important to know.
Right. So I think in an Indian context, if you see, statutory auditor is somebody who is very much relied upon, right, from listed companies to unlisted, right? And we wanted the statutory auditor to have comfort, as well as a third party eye, where we got CoinGabbar to provide all the information. So procedurally, they tested our liabilities and understood all aspects of the reserve from the third party which we gave data to.
Sure.
So it added another layer of trust over them working with us in future as well. And rest, every other parameter, I would say, apart from this audit certificate and report, is just an icing on the cake. I think the audit is the main, crux of this reserve listing.
Okay, so is this publishing of both the POR and the POL audit report just a one-time thing, or is it going to be like a regular quarter-on-quarter report that one must look for?
So not at all. It's a frequent and recurring process that we foresee. I think trust is never built in one time. It's consistency that provides trust to our users, and we'll keep on providing it by releasing reports quarterly to start with. Our reserves are real time from CoinGabbar, but liabilities also keep on changing real time, but difficult to publish real time on chain or otherwise, or an audit being done real time as well is difficult. Hence, we will need a cadence, and we have decided to start quarterly going forward.
So, Paris, what are the future plans of CoinDCX to really build more trust and transparency?
Right. So, I think from the beginning, CoinDCX has always stood for, users' trust, and have always put out practices where it can be more transparent, with the users. For example, we were first to release blockchain addresses in India, when there were no proof of reserve uh, conversation also going on. And then we published the proof of reserves with a different data partner. Then we also did the audit report with a different data partner. All of this basically revolves around the custody piece. But having said that, from the start, we have always been, instating compliance and surveillance practices, which are, followed by modern fintech, companies as well. For us, trust means more accountability across stakeholders, whether it is users, government, or our partners. So you will see a lot of those, trade surveillance practices, which will be able to, which we actually, which we have already put in the process, which we have developed, which we follow. In addition to some of the public things like proof of reserves, liabilities, and some of the compliance stack, which is also visible to the users.
Sure. Noted that. But also to deploy self-governance, what are the other practices that are already being opted by CoinDCX?
Right. So I think self-governance is a set of rules that one deploys upon itself as a stakeholder in any economy. And if you see, the whole crypto space is not regulated, but we still do KYC, as good as a bank does, or as good as any SEBI governed body does. Similarly, on the custody side, there is no need to be transparent, for example, right, regulatory wise, but we came out, and became more transparent about our reserves. I think these set of practices, when we keep on following, create, table stakes for other players as well, and that becomes, start of self-governance for the whole ecosystem rather than just one stakeholder or company. And that is what we are going towards, with very very hard KYCs, with regular INR surveillance, with very regular trade surveillance, by making sure that there is no manipulation in the system on trade side, order book side. All of these are unwritten rules till now, and slowly and gradually they are becoming public. And once these rules become a set of constitution in itself, to govern ourselves, then we'll say at some point in time that we are really self-governed. But I think this is just a start that we have.
Just the starting point, absolutely. But towards the end, Paras, I wanted to just take that discussion forward on CoinGubber as well. Why did CoinDCX really decide to partner with CoinGubber for this release? How has it really turned out for both the parties that are involved?
Right. So, as pointed out earlier as well, it was an audit requirement to have an additional layer of check by a third party who could aggregate all the data points across wherever we keep custody. CoinGubber was in a position, where it could quickly move and, give us all the infra so that we can show it to our auditor, how our reserves look like. And they have also prepared a real-time dashboard, which we can send as a link to our users, which is already on our blog, so that that visibility is always real time as well. It also makes the audit cycle a lot faster, because it is always real time. So for CoinGubber, it's they are a crypto analytics firm. For them as well, I hope by partnering with us, they also help other exchanges or other crypto players become self-governed.
Absolutely, Paras. Well, Paras, thank you so much for sharing all these wonderful insights with all our audiences as well, and all the very best going forward from here in continuation with your efforts to make the proof of reserves public. You have, further strengthened the trust and the transparency among users as well by publishing this proof of reserves and audited report as well. So look forward to more interactions also going forward from here. Many thanks for joining us onto this special.
Thanks a lot for your time, Sakshi, as well. Thank you.
Crypto products and NFTs are unregulated and can be highly risky. There may be no regulatory recourse for any loss from such transactions. In case you have any queries, write to support@coindcx.com.